Welcome to Ask Me How I Know, multifamily real estate investing stories of struggle to success, where each week unscripted interviews with guests bring a fresh perspective to problem solving in the multifamily niche, as well as feed your mindset. Success stories are great, but everyone knows the important part of the story, the part between the struggles of starting and arriving, and it often gets left out. Ask Me How I Know is like the back house of a restaurant. Pass through the prim and proper front of the house and join us in the harmonious chaos of the back of the house where honest, unscripted conversations take place and transformation happens. In life and investing, there are no shortages of wild scenarios, so no matter where you are in your investment journey, this podcast is for you. There is no pomp and fanfare here, just endless opportunity to build your investing and mindset playbooks. This is your retreat to breathe, build, and laugh. Welcome to Ask Me How I Know. I'm Julie Holly, and I'm happy you're here. Welcome back to Ask Me How I Know. And boy, howdy, we've got like so many adventures taking place right now. With me today, I have Monick Halm. And so I told her, I'm like, I'm going to tell you this. I was going to tell you like right before I hit record. I'm like, no, I'll just hit record because you're going to hear it twice then. But I typically don't do introductions for people because I want people to go to the show notes. Like I want to hear your story and your advice, your wisdom to share, right, with everybody. But today I have to do at least an introduction and a huge thank you because for everybody watching and listening, like Monique is like, I literally get teary-eyed because when I heard you speak about syndication, it was like one of those like clouds parted, sea parted, everything like boom. Oh my gosh, Julie, that's like your path right there. And I had been listening to Bigger Pockets for quite some time. And I had actually been lamenting to a friend, like not in a bad way, but I'm like, wow, I love all these stories, but I'm like, it'd be cool, if occasionally I heard, another woman on here and you were the first woman I heard. And you just had so much positive energy and just, you could tell you were excited about what you were doing. And then you were describing what syndication is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is like exactly how I made up. So without you, I'm like, you're the first person I ever heard talk about apartment investing on this whole entire other level. So like, it's just, I want you to know what an honor it is to have you on Ask Me How I Know. So,
that feels so.
Yeah, you're having an influence.
I'm so honored.
So many lives. It's so awesome.
Thank you. I'm like, that's making me teary. I'm so honored because it's like my mission is to help men create financial freedom through real estate investing. And like anytime I hear any woman being like, I encourage you or whatever, like that's what I live for. Thank you. It means so much to me. Thank you.
And we don't always get to know the lives that we influence. So anytime I have an opportunity to actually share with someone like, man, you have had this profound influence, it's very special. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, we're living in this really interesting time that is a changing day. It's not just day by day. It's like hour by hour. Would you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Yeah, go ahead.
I was like, I can't believe how different life is now than when we first scheduled this conversation. It's just night and day.
It's wild. So I did not have toilet paper up here, but this is just like in the background we have toilet paper because like we just want to remember this era, this season, and we're going to get through it. And Monique was going to share, we're going to do a Q&A about, an investment property in Albuquerque, New Mexico that you had. And then I'm like, man, you have so much experience and you've experienced other, economic cycles. So I'm going to ask for, let's do a playbook. Top 3 ways to hedge yourself right now with COVID going on. What would you say every investor across the board, because we're all in different asset classes, but there are common ways of hedging ourselves and preparing. And I'm just gonna throw out there, I really think disruption is an opportunity. So I'm really
Absolutely.
going
Yeah.
for positive.
I think, and this is so good because I'm in the middle of I'm doing a summit on this topic, like how do you prepare yourself strategy psychology wise for this economic climate that we're finding ourselves in, and bringing together a bunch of really smart women that have also lived through these cycles, see how are they doing, and bringing together people in different asset classes that are particularly poised for this season. And and I want to start that saying that I have been preparing for this for a couple of years. I at least 2 years, maybe three. I was kind of right. I was like, I knew we were overdue for something. I didn't expect a black swan event like this. I didn't expect the whole economy
Right.
to shut down. I don't know if anybody could have expected this, but I knew that like it wasn't going to be, upwards and onwards forever. There was going to be a time at which we're going to shift. So I had already started to look for recession resistant investments. And that was where my focus was. And I was focusing on getting diversified. So I did not have all of my investment eggs in multifamily basket. I did not have all, or in any one basket. I was starting to get different asset classes, so I'd have more diversity. So that's the first strategy, I think, is to diversify. Is to have different types of investments, maybe different markets, where not everything is in the one place, not everything is the same type of property. Uh, that's that's probably like the first advice that I would give.
Did you
Uh,
diversify also? Did you also diversify outside of real estate? Not necessarily
so
saying Wall Street, but I'm saying I know there. I mean, there are so many asset classes that are very interesting out there.
yeah, so mostly I've been in real estate, though I did a startup, but it's a real estate based startup that I invested in. So mostly I was in real estate, and I actually started to take I had been taking money out of my Wall Street, like my stocks and bond investments, and putting it into more real property. But for the most part, I was just in real property. I had like a little bit of crypto, um, and I'm
Oh, I
not.
heard that. I caught that you had a little bit of crypto. That might
I
be kind
do.
of early
That was
worthwhile.
that was like I'm not. I, crypto is so speculative. Not the underlying blockchain, that's here to stay. I feel like, but the like this coin versus that coin, I don't know. Like that's speculating. So I put a little bit in there, but for me that feels like gambling, and I'm not a gambler. So I like things that are more set. And this is probably going to be controversial because people are going to be like, that's not gambling. I don't even really like gold because I'm like, really, like, what is the value of gold? I know, like, for millennia, gold has been considered, it's like considered a measure of wealth, but it goes, up and down. And millennials don't like gold as much. It's not like, who's to say that people still feel like gold is valuable in a down economy. Like, if it was really Armageddon right now, apocalypse, I wouldn't want gold. I'd rather have chickens and eggs. Is there something like more practical you could trade? So one of the things that I had been starting to look into in terms of minerals was more like, and I haven't gone there yet, but just different like copper and different like minerals that are used more in technology that have like a value outside of just what people say it is, but
Right?
they're actually useful. So that is that is something I was looking, but I haven't invested in there yet. So mostly my investments are just in real estate with the exception of the stocks I have.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I hear you on that. I mean, with the minerals, like there are other options out there, and what is the best? Like that's a whole nother learning, whole nother learning
Yeah,
curve, if
yeah,
you're going to
it
actually be
is.
successful at it. So, well, yeah, and man, the writing has been on the wall that this was going to happen, and it was so funny. Last year, everybody was like, "Oh, it's going to be," there's so much um, even controversy over how bad is it going to be when it comes. I don't think anybody expected this at all.
No, no, not really. Though I was at an event in early February, and Harry Dent, who is he's he was a very successful market forecaster. He did foresee 2008 coming. He had called that one. And in February, he was saying, he goes, because we're due for a recession. He called that we'd be in it by May.
Oh,
He said, I see it by May. He goes, unless like the coronavirus, because the coronavirus was just starting and China had just started to shut down. He was like,
okay.
unless the coronavirus becomes more serious, and then that could cause a recession. So he did say that in early February. And he was saying, he goes, and I see that this is going to be the worst recession, even worse than 2008 and 2009. He says this will be maybe even worse than the depression. He was like, it's going to be bad. That's what he had called in the early February. I don't know if he's I don't know if he's right. He'd been calling for it like the recession for like 5 or 6 years now. It's been a while that he was saying like we're just about to do it. It's just about to come. But I think with all of the quantitative easing, the low interest rates, like the government was keeping the system propped up. So because it was like juicing up the system, it was keeping it kind of artificially high. So it was a matter of time, but I don't know if anybody, even he, might have thought it would be that bad. Although one of the things he says is he doesn't necessarily think, he was saying there will be, and this is an interview I heard recently with him, there will be a bounce in the market. Not quite to not to, at the high levels. It'll go really far down. It'll bounce. He's like, take your money out. He's like, because it's never going to go back up to the levels again that we've seen in our lifetime. That was his prediction. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's why I like real estate, like cash flowing property, like you're like real property cash flow. And that's why I started to go more and more into it, but in different asset classes in the recent years.
Yes. You also have such a good reminder to be out there. I mean, I love participating in, online networking and such and traveling as I can, but they always say your net worth is your network. And like, or maybe I have it flipped, but I mean like just the fact that I mean like I know you're always networking and going places and hearing different things. And I mean, that's a great way also to make sure that you're aligned with people and that you're expanding your thinking and that you're not closed minded, like this is the track I'm on and it's the only way, because you're going to get hit by something unless you're aware of everything going on around you.
Yeah, that's so true. I do invest a lot to go out there and keep learning. I, I don't know everything there is to know. Um, and I'm always trying to be around people that are smarter than me that I can learn from and just get out, get new perspectives, and hear different ways of doing things. And in terms of, you're saying, well, like three things that I'm doing to
Yes.
prepare. So one is with keeping diversified. The other is really with like that psychology piece, like getting my mindset to a place where when opportunities come, I'm not like held down by fear and anxiety. There's so much fear and anxiety right now. Most people are going to contract. Most people are going to like go, I'm just gonna hold on to my money or do
It's
whatever
mine.
because
It's
they're like
all
just
mine.
or like not just vibe, like I'm afraid of losing it. So I'm just they're operating out of fear and which is totally normal right now, but it's not gonna serve. So like feeling the feelings you're feeling, but then just being able to take action when the opportunities show up, because there are so many opportunities that are going to show up right now, more than ever. But only the people who have the courage and the mental fortitude to like move in a direction that's opposite of the crowd because the crowd is going to retreat. The crowd's going to run scared. The crowd, like, you have to go against the herd right now. And that's where the opportunities will lie. So, but that takes a mind, that takes having the right mindset, the right psychology for that. So I invest a lot in my psychology, like getting that personal development and having that psychology. And I spend a lot of time to keep myself centered and balanced in the midst of all the chaos. And I think that is one of the things that any investor will need to do in order to be successful. And the third thing that I've been looking at and I think will be helpful is understanding which asset classes, which opportunities are going to be are poised to do well regardless of what happens with the economy. Um, and that has to do with being in like markets that have that are very like they're diverse and they're robust, strong, diversified economies with lots of different asset classes, lots of different industries. I mean, right now we are in this Black Swan event where like pretty much every industry is being affected. I can't think of any, well, maybe medical is doing okay right now, but
Right.
otherwise, like every and the food and toilet paper, maybe, but otherwise, pretty much everyone else is hurting but we will get to the other side of this virus and there people still people still need to go go out and there are certain things that are still poised to do well. So regardless of what's happening and looking at what are those investments that will do well in any market. So I do believe that um, I still I'm a believer in B class multifamily in a strong market. I feel like certain markets that like certain markets that were a little weaker, they may not recover as much, but
Yeah.
I think in probably your Dallases and your Atlantas and like those are strong markets that should be fine. Um, and so I think, and people always need that kind of housing. So I think that that's still a strong asset class. I think mobile homes, mobile home parks, that's a good asset class to be in. Like super low income housing, that's like probably more need for that, not less. I think self storage is will probably have an uptick with what's going on. I think medical office, definitely assisted living facilities, any like senior homes, because there's still that wave of 10,000 people a day turning 85. There's still this like silver tsunami coming, so
Yes.
that wave is not going to stop. Um, so there's going to be that need. I think you're going to have a lot of maybe foreclosures and non-performing notes will be um, an area that's ripe, as well as tax liens, tax deed investing. So all of those, I think, are ones that are still poised to do really well in this coming economy. So and then different like tech models. So I was talking about investing in a in a startup that has a real estate base. I think the still things that are online. We're going to have more of that. So there are opportunities out there, but people really need to think about, okay, what are the opportunities that'll be there when people are, when there's not as much money or people are struggling. It's going to be different than when things are going really well and when you're expecting things to uptick and rise. So that's that's where I'm looking, and that's how I've been thinking about investing in
Right.
and for the past couple years, and but especially now. So now I'm just doubling down on the asset classes strategies I think are poised to do well.
Are you feeling, if you don't mind, I always figure anyone can veto a question, but are you feeling
Mhm.
comfortable since you did take time to prepare and you were, being prudent and saying, okay, we're at this point in the economic cycle, we got to be due for a flush out soon. Are you feeling comfortable with where you are with your current, assets and where they'll perform? I've heard such a broad spectrum of people that were positioned, but no one predicted this. Like,
Yeah, no one predicted this. So there is the last one I forgot that I did do investments in last year, and so we got a portfolio of houses in a market. They're mostly Section 8 housing. So that's also, I think, it's a market that's probably do well. Um, so yeah, I think like my Section 8 homes should be fine. Unless the government implodes and we have bigger problems than than this, but that'll be the least of my problems. I
yeah,
think our I mean some of my so I have some C class houses that aren't Section 8. Those tenants are going to have a hard time. So just like we have to work with them, or also our in our multifamily, they're like our we're having to work with we will be having to work with our clients, our tenants, to make sure that they can pay. I think our B class, most of our multifamily right now is
hmm,
actually all of our multifamily right now is B class, so that they're a little more set up to weather this storm. There are more of them that have like maybe white collar jobs or jobs that they can work from home. Um, so they're a little better off than so I'm glad we got rid of most of our C class housing last year, our C class multifamily, because I think the B class will weather this storm a little better.
yeah,
Um, we have some industrial, so like and like our industrial office parks that have like small and medium sized businesses. So we have like 6 office parks in Houston, just different types of businesses.
yeah,
Small businesses are suffering right now. There's help for them, but it's a variety of the businesses, and it should be okay. I'm not too worried about those investments, unless like the city of Houston implodes. But I think there'll always be small business in this country, and they'll need space.
yeah.
Um, and like bakeries and garages and things like they need space.
Speaking my language with bakeries.
Yeah. So it's like you're like certain things you can bring in, into your house, but like a big bakery, you need like a bigger space. So I think those are fine. We have a mobile home park that's set to do well. Like so, most of our investments are well positioned. I'm not too worried, but this is again unprecedented. So we'll see what happens long term. Like if we continue to be halted much longer, I don't. It is going to have a down effect, but I think with the geographic and asset class diversity, we should be
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's really, I mean, you are so diversified. Now, have you, I mean, I'm certain that you've heard, just as I've heard, different different strategies that, operators are using right now to, just continue to have rent coming in their
Hmm.
multifamily assets. I've heard some people say, incentivizing, giving discounts if you pay your rent on time. I've heard people
Or
say,
rent early.
or
Yeah,
like some different things
yeah.
like that. Like, what's your take? Because I think a lot of people listening are probably, grappling with, what's the best play on that, or, in your opinion, you're in a, we're all in different positions depending on our asset classes and how, things were, prepared. So, but what's
Yeah.
your position or ideas on that?
Yeah, so definitely it's better to be proactive, working with but giving them. So with some of our properties, we're giving incentives to pay early. So like if you pay, you'll get $50 off your rent if you pay your April rent like now, or you get $100 off if you do April and May right now. And so there's like we try to figure out like how can we incentivize to like keep the cash flow coming in, especially now, because maybe in April, May, like more of them will have lost jobs. So if they like prepaid rent, then that will help. Um, and just like, and then also thinking about how can we connect our tenants with services that might help them be able to pay rent. So getting them helping, oh, you lost your job. Like, here's how you get on unemployment, or here's this program that could help you. So just like learning what are the options out there that can help our tenants should God forbid they lose their jobs, then we can send them to different services that will help them be able to weather the storm and be able to pay for rent. So I think a lot of people are hearing, oh, like there's no evictions now or this, and it's like that means free rent. It's like that's not what that means. That means like we're not gonna kick you out in the like right now, in the middle of this. But it's like you will have to pay rent. It's not rent abatement. Like it's not it doesn't mean that you get free rent for forever, or even free rent for like right for now. It's not free rent. That's not what I mean. So just like really like teaching people what that means, and then helping them be able to survive, but also giving them incentives to prepay that, like maybe that you can take a haircut off the rent, but at least you have it. So and then also focusing on keeping the tenants we have versus we're even if we could um, be doing work on them, we can't because of coronavirus. But even if we could, there was sort of stopping our improvements and not necessarily focusing on getting the rent bumps that we were hoping for, but really it's like how can we keep it stable? Give people incentives to stay in their places. We're not raising rents. We're gonna keep the rents the same. We're gonna just keep them in place. And so the focus now, instead of like getting the NOI up, and the focus now is really more like keeping the NOI, keeping the income where it is. So that's where we're shifting, and then helping tenants be able to weather the storm. So those are some of the strategies that we're doing.
I've seen so much care coming out from operators right now, and and even with how you're saying like, okay, well, these are how we can. I mean, these are all ways that you're helping. It's mutual. It's mutually beneficial, but I think sometimes that we can get such a bad rap. The media can make it look like, you know, people are just kind of greedy and everything, and I love that it's like, no, let's make this work for everybody, and
Yeah,
I mean, we have mortgages to pay for, whatever property it is. It's not like, so I love that you've, the creative solutions out there to say, okay, this is how we can help our tenants, and this is how we can make sure that we're still performing. It's the wins are still
yeah, because we still need to pay the mortgage and the utilities and our insurance, etc. So having, we just have to set it up so that we can kind of maintain our obligations while also helping our tenants to keep a roof over their head, because nobody wants to lose housing right now. And hopefully it's just we'll be able to get on this other side with very few deaths, and everyone, and then we just get back to work. That's the goal. um but yeah, so for right now we're just trying to stay the course and help everyone be able to meet their obligations.
yeah. Wow. Well, I really appreciate your time and just being able to have this very candid conversation and, hear your strategies and everything. Is there anything else that you'd love for the audience, to think about or to know or to encourage or
Yeah, so I feel like, it's important to remember, and this is part my philosophy. I feel like life happens for us, not to us. So, whatever situation you're going through, and I've just posted something on Facebook, and I was talking about, like, I remember in the last downturn, like, I had been fired from my job, like, right before. So earlier in 2008, I was pregnant. It was very unexpected.
I read
Um,
this post.
yeah, I was like, quite a surprise. I got called in by my boss thinking I was gonna get a bonus, and instead I got like fired because I was like, I've been working so hard, so okay, so I'll get a bonus. No. So that was a shock. But I was really pregnant at the time. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna wait till after I give birth, I'll have a little maternity period, and then I'll look for another job. And and then like within a month after my daughter was born, like the market was like in the tank, and started to free fall. So I had to, then my husband's, who's self-employed graphic designer, his income went down 90%. It was a really scary time. So for those of you who are out there like freaking out, I get it. Um, it can feel really scary and insecure right now. What saved us was having, we had a couple rental properties at the time. We were able to sell one, and we used those proceeds and that we were able to, we started to flip houses, but it basically, that real estate helped keep a roof over our heads. Um, and it it helped, it gave us options, and it gave us a safety net. So, for those of you out there just wondering what should I do, or being really scared, it's just like, if I hadn't have gotten fired, I wouldn't have leaned into real estate. I probably would still be a miserable lawyer today. So it was a gift, that 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 my boss at the time gave me. It didn't feel like it, but it was. And now my life is so much richer and better, richer in every way I can imagine, because of that. So when you're in the midst of this doo doo, you can like look around and go, okay, like how can this be a gift? How can I pivot? How can I, like, if I make this work even better for me? Like, where is the opportunity? Where is the gift? And being able to ask that question really helped us at the time, and maybe that will help you.
Oh, I love it. Opportunity abounds. So, and especially when everybody else is running scared, that's when you know the
Yeah,
opportunity is like it's right around the corner. Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to be leaving all sorts of awesome links in the show notes so that you can connect up with Monique, and you need to connect with her. And especially if you are a lady investor, I highly encourage you. You need to go like run and click on the link so that you can get into the Real Estate Investor Goddesses Facebook group and just start following Monique and getting connected with other like-minded women. It's really special. I mean, I always say I have three older brothers, so I'm used to being in like the boy world. And then when I got into multifamily investing, it's like, oh, it's kind of the boy world still. And so
Hmm.
finding these little pockets of women is just a nice little camaraderie to be together and encourage and cheer each other on. And so many, gosh, Monique, you have attracted so many incredible, I just can't speak highly enough about everybody that's in that group. So I'm grateful to be part of
Thanks.
that group, and just to get the wisdom, the experience, expertise, and you kind of talk like girls somehow.
Yeah, it's our sisterhood. So
Yeah.
come join our sisterhood.
Yeah, so make sure you do that. And that's that, and if you're a gentleman out there listening, because there are more of you in this than there are us, make sure you follow Monique because she kicks butt and she's awesome. So thanks again, Monique, for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Ask Me How I Know.
My guests are the most humble successes, so be sure to show them your appreciation by rating this episode 5 stars, which sounds silly, but let's be real. Ratings, likes, and shares, they take no time at all, but make all the difference in the world, if only to boost morale. Also, since I don't spend time on the how and why they got into investing, be sure to check out the show notes to get to know more about today's guests, including other podcasts they've been on that has a more traditional format that will give other details about their investment journey. It'll also tell you things like the most influential person in their life and what they're reading right now, as well as how to connect with them. And please, subscribe and rate Ask Me How I Know so it reaches other listeners like you. Until next time, go find your freedom.